mic is on. Yeah, ready. Cool. So without wasting time, welcome to today's live design streaming session. I'm a host, Verma Henry. The color is a little bit weird today. I was playing around with see if we can adjust that a little bit so that we don't have so much overlay. The mic coming in a little bit too soft. There we go. 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 All right. Welcome to this live episode. Today we're going to be talking about the 10 usability heuristics. I want to talk about interaction design today, and I think this is a recipe to sort of get it almost right all of the time. It's like, you know, if you can have a list of checkboxes that you can go in and tick off for you to make sure that you can get it right. It's always good to have a recipe, right, when you are developing and creating your products. Let me just control the music here so that it's not super loud. Cool. There we go. Alrighty. So yeah, I think maybe 10 usability heuristics is a title that might be confusing for some people because people might not know what heuristics are. But basically, this comes from, let me see if I can pull this up quickly. All right, I'm just gonna pull this. This comes from Jacob Nielsen, or Jacob Nielsen. But basically, this is sort of like 10 principles, right, for interface design, really here. So usability when it comes to interfaces. So these are user interfaces like websites, apps, and other things that could be physical as well, right? Like such as, you know, your phone or the device itself. Anything that has got a user interface that people can engage with to be able to achieve a certain goal. So that is basically what, you know, usability heuristics means. It's a set of principles. In this case, 10 of them that we are just show you here on the page that I'm looking at. So in this case, you know, it's from the Nielsen Norman Group, and these are by Jacob Nielsen's 10 general principles for interaction design. They're called heuristics because they are broad rules of thumb and not specific usability guidelines. So we're not really like looking at, you know, a branding guide. These are, you know, the high level rules of thumb that, you know, almost overarch or umbrella, if I can put it in that way, the umbrella, you know, the basic guidelines that you can use, you know, as a recipe for you to build, you know, user interfaces that people can actually understand and not get too lost in them. So there are different, you know, sets of heuristics that you can find out there, of course, you know, from interface design. You know, you can build your own sets of principles that you might want, but this is a set that a lot of UX designers and web designers use to do, you know, what they call a heuristic evaluation, where they look at a website. Maybe we can do that as part of today's live streaming session. So let's pull up a website here. Let's look for what market. Let's say fresh food, right? So let's pull up a fresh food website and do a heuristic on it. There's actually freshfoods.co. It's quite interesting, and we're gonna go through this guideline here that we have here, and just try and figure out, on the website, what are some of the things that are there that we can pick here, such as visibility of system status, and we'll go into detail into what each one of those mean as we go through the session. So this is a WordPress website, is still loading. There's a couple of weird things that are already out of place here, and there's a gallery. Maybe we'll look at different ones, right? Because I was hoping I would get something like fresh food, groceries, or something of that nature. Let's see. Let's try out other ones. This one looks cool. It's an e-commerce website, so it'll be a good candidate to look at. This is also another one. All right, cool. These are all good, all very good candidates here. Cool, fresh to go. Really cool looking bold websites. So cool. Let's jump and see what are some of the heuristics and what can we pull out of the things that we're looking at here. So number one, visibility of system status. What does that mean, right? So the definition that they have here is that the system should always keep users informed about what's going on through appropriate feedback within reasonable time, right? So this speaks to very quick responses of the system that you're actually using something. So if I go over this thing, there's a line, it's responsive to tell me that I am interacting with the thing, and there's an action that I can do there, right? And if I click on something, this is just the browser, not necessarily the website, but it's telling me that there's something happening. So I don't just think that the website is broken. And keep on looking at the thing. This actually looks like really good food. I should try some of this. I'm a like sucker for good food. Always trying to try out different things every time I cook at home. It's been so much fun, being a stay-at-home, work from home dad rather, over the past almost this whole year, really, even before the pandemic and the lockdown and everything. So back to the heuristics here. The first one of visibility of system status really speaks to that thing of having something that is responsive, right? So another scenario could be having add to cart, right? So when I add to cart, something was happening there. Now it tells me that it's confirmed. It is added to cart, and I see that there is a response there, right? Let's look on the other websites. Let's see if we can find other scenarios where we can see visibility of system status of what it's actually doing. So what is the system doing? Is it letting you know what it's doing while you're doing it? But yeah, the typical one will be the loading, to tell you that there's things that are still happening on this page. So if there are things that are missing, you can respond to that. I really like this Buy Fresh website. I understand that it's probably just a WordPress template, but the food looks really nice. I wonder if it looks as good in real life. Gonna try it out. Buyfresh.coza. Not endorsed, as you can see. I just opened Google and looked for fresh food, right? And we actually opened a pretty terrible website to begin with. Cool. So let's go to the second principle that we have on the list, right? So we want to figure out a match between the system and the real world, right? The system should speak the user's language, right, with words, phrases, and concepts familiar to the user, rather than system-oriented terms. So a lot of earlier software that we've seen, maybe I can say pretty early on, before we had design thinking and UX, user experience design sort of like evolved to the way that it is now. We probably saw a lot of systems that have got technical jargon, right? So if we look at some of the old things that we have become familiar with today, that are not really natural things. Like if you look at some of the terminology in your Excel program, for example, right? Like a formula and those kind of things. Okay, maybe that might sound like um, something common now, but basically what this principle is about, what we're talking about here, the system matching sort of like the terminology. We're trying to making the information appear in a natural and logic order, right? We don't want things to sort of like feel very robotic, very process like, so that people can simply understand what this thing is, right? So log in, let's see. Right, so things like terminology between what is an account and what is my profile, right? That is a better way to just look at one scenario of user experience design, right? So so like lost your password, so it really speaks to the copy and helping people understand navigating your website. So let's look at some of the navigations here, right? About us, how it works. It would be good to look at probably like some apps as well. Services, retail, right? So yeah, maybe this might not be the best scenario. Maybe if I were to jump into Windows, you might probably see some other sort of like things around there. Let's see if I can go into my settings here. So they've also improved it quite a bit. Let me look for control panel. All right, so probably here in the control panel, we should be able to, review computer status, backup copies. See, sure, you should be able to find something weird in here. Eyesight. All right. Anyway, I guess I've sort of like tried to illustrate the point with great failure there. That was a very terrible way to try and show you an example. But basically, what this second principle, match between system and the real world, is speaking to is that you need to sort of like have natural language and tone and order of things that make everybody easy for them to understand. So a very good example is sort of like what can I show you? Maybe this software here, Audacity, right? So like file, edit, select stuff, right? View, transport, deal with tracks, generate stuff, right? That's where you find your effects, right? And if you want to analyze stuff and etc. So these high level menus in most of these computer systems are well designed for people to be able to understand them, no matter which world of which part of the world you're coming from, and sometimes even if you have very little understanding of the English language, or very little understanding of whatever language might be presented by the interface in front of you. So moving on swiftly, let me just put that back where it belongs. I I see we're on the 23-minute mark. We'll definitely go over today because it started a little bit later. Yeah, if you are here, and if you're just joining us, welcome to the live stream. This is Design Streaming Sessions. I am your host, Verma Henry, and hopefully soon we'll have other people on the show and not just this talking head with my computer screen. Today we're talking about the 10 usability heuristics, and these are basically principles that you can use as a recipe to sort of like have a high level checklist that you can use to make sure that whatever you're designing, whatever user interfaces and whatever user experiences that you're trying to build are usable and easy to understand for people. This is what a lot of UX designers use when they're doing a typical heuristics evaluation on a website or on an app to try and help clients figure out which parts of their website or their interface or their user experience they should be focusing on to improve. So this could be something that you can add to your own UX offering if you don't already offer it. So you can offer your clients the service where you can actually look at their recommend which parts they should look at and improve according to these principles. These are like industry standard that they're used everywhere. So I had just done a pathetic and not having to go through extended dialogue and support to redo and undo and etc. So this speaks to allowing the user to really be at the control of what they're doing with the interface. So you don't want to have the user locked in a certain scenario where they feel that they cannot go back or just escape out of the whole system. That's why most of the computers have an escape key on them. Okay, like I said, most of them, right? We've got an escape key, and what that does is that in most programs, it just leaves the thing and quits everything, right? That's why we've got a close thing. Okay, there's an extra dialogue, maybe it speaks to the first principle of visibility of system status or just responsiveness, to confirm with you if you want to take this action, right? But basically the third principle speaks to user control and freedom to be able to allow users to cancel what they were doing and the steps that they are in, or be able to sort of like take proper control of the interface, also without confusing them, right? Because usually we have too many functionality, but one way to reduce that dependency of the going picking the wrong things, you might want to minimize the different plethora of functions, system functions that you provide, and make it simpler so that you get simpler and much more what can I say, much more illustrated in a way that people can clearly understand what they're looking at and what the action will be once they take that thing, once they interact with that specific part of your interface, right? So that is the third one. I don't know if I want to illustrate it by closing this window here, right? But that's just one scenario, I guess, where you would see this. Going back to our websites here, right? I want to be able maybe to just go back to the home page. Maybe I was dandling around the website, but not a lot of people know that, when you click there, it goes back to your homepage. It's sort of like common practice now on most websites, so maybe people are expecting to see that. But yeah, that is, one scenario where I was browsing through this website. I'm like, okay, I don't know where I was. I just want to go back to the home page and start all over again, right? So that is one scenario, or a quick example here. I think we will drop it in the description of this video, and you can check it after this. But yeah, I think let's move on to the next principle that we have: consistency and standards. All right. What is this speaking to? So users should not have to wonder whether, different words, situations, or actions mean the same thing. Follow platform convergence. I don't know what that part means, but I guess if I can explain that into what it actually means, is that you just want to have consistency throughout. Sign up into, create a user account, right? You don't want to say fill up your profile details later on, right? You want to say fill up your account details so that people don't have to think if this thing means the same thing. If you're a UX designer and you're just starting in UX design and you're watching this after the note, I would recommend a book called Don't Make Me Think. It's a very good read, if you're starting in UX design. And if you are a UX Don't Make Me Think yet, I would strongly recommend that you go and read that book on this note of consistency and standards, and just making things easy for people to use and consume. So you want to be able to have a consistent pattern of words, right? So so if you are delivery, there's different parts of the world where we use different words, and we use different terms that mean the same to us. So a typical example that I always use in South Africa is that we don't call so it's the Netflix example, is that we don't call movies films, right? Okay, some people might call them films, right? But then there's this weird terminology of films, and we call them movies, right? And in other parts of the world they call them films, right? So and series is just series, I guess. But just that simple terminology, right? And again, the profile versus account, right? What actually is more consistent with the real world, right? So you want to match the real world as well as keep that standard. I don't have different terminology running in the eating. What does it actually mean, or are they still relating to the same thing, right? Moving on to number 5. Wow, I definitely have to move faster through this, so please bear with me as I go Hussein Bolt on you guys, as I go what's that other superhero that goes really fast? Flash. Yeah, I'm gonna go Flash on you on this. So starting from number 5, we're gonna be going in Flash mode. Right now I'm gonna be talking at 2x speed. I'm just kidding. I'm not gonna be talking at 2x speed. I'm gonna try and go a little bit faster. So error prevention really talks to, even better than good error message, right? Is a careful design which prevents a problem from occurring in the first place. Either eliminate error prone conditions or check them and present users with confirmation order by the. Anyway, what that whole thing is trying to say is that, instead of dealing with errors after the fact, try and minimize errors in the first place. So I touched on this earlier, in the previous section, when we're talking about user control and freedom. So instead of you giving people that emergency exit, just try and create a user experience that they do not end up making errors or feeling lost. And how do you do this, right? You do this by making sure that you're using the right language. You're using clear instructions and not using, do this on point A and on point B you do etc. Try and break it up and, not give people too much information or instructions, at the same time for them to execute things 3 or 4 scrolls down the page where they can't see what that instruction was anymore, and they have to sort of like do this thing, right, of opening this website and looking here like, okay, what is that heuristic and principle, and coming here actually have a platform where people are prone to making errors. So you want to have great error messages and say, oh, okay, you've broken this, or you should have done this way, but as well you want to put the user in an environment where these errors are preventable and they can actually navigate the environment with few errors as possible. Moving on to the next one, number 6, recognition rather than recall. Maximize the user's memory load by making objects, actions, and options feasible. Users should not have to remember information from one part of the dialogue to another. Instructions or use the system should be visible easily whenever appropriate, right? So a good example, like I was mentioning in the previous point here, is that you want to have the instructions and the things that person needs to execute in that one frame, right? You don't want them to read one thing here and then go and execute something elsewhere. And so a good thing around that is what they usually have at the website checkout, right? So you usually have that so usually when you look at website checkouts, you have sort of like that step thing that's there, which sort of lets you know which part of the process you are at, right? Steps, which part of the process you are at, right? So something of this nature here, if it loads up, something of this some of this nature here. So you have those things on the top, they're consistently there, they're sort of like telling you where you are. You don't have to think, okay, where am I in the process? It's clear to you where you are exactly. Another scenario is sort of like having a floating menu like this, right? So if I click a certain thing, let's see if there's actually right, prepared stuff. As I'm navigating this website and I get into other things, right, I can still see that sticky thing that, oh, okay, that is where I am, right? The website sort of like reminds me that I am in that specific that specific place, right? And I don't have to think like, okay, which part of this website am I at, or what am I doing or looking at the moment, right? So that is sort of like helping the person recognize where they are, unlike trying for them to recall what they're doing, where they are, and what they're actually trying to execute, because that is how you lose people, right? You just get to that point where they lose their train of thought and thinking, and everything just sort of like vanishes, and they forget what they were doing, or they get irritated and then they start looking for that escape button. And if you manage to sort out that escape part and not give people all these other things, they're just gonna leave your thing, right? And you're not gonna have any sustainable user base going forth. All right, cool. So sweet. Moving on to number seven. Number seven, we're almost there, guys. We're almost there. We're actually just 9 minutes over, so we're not doing too bad. We're usually like 30 minutes over, and so forth. Number seven, we're talking about flexibility and efficiency of use. So accelerators, as seen by the novice user, may often speed up the interaction, and other things like that. System can cater for both inexperienced and experienced users and allows them to tailor. So this is a scenario you might have seen, on mobile games, where you can press the on-screen buttons while you're playing the game, or you can simply just shift the device as if you are driving a car. It's easier for my 4-year-old daughter to do that, and play a game, unlike trying to control a running stick and a direction stick, and use, because their motor skills have not been developed. So that is just an example of a younger user, but this can also be catering for accessibility, right, for people with disabilities, whether it's a motor skills disability or other sort of disabilities that will make other things that we find in everyday devices better for people to use your product. So taking advantage of accelerators in the device, taking advantage of camera, LiDAR, or whatever comes on devices these days. It's like Swiss Army knives of devices. So that is basically what the seventh heuristic or principle speaks to. So having said that, I just want to remind you a little bit here as we are going through that if you like this type of information and you would like to engage with our community, which is the Do Better UX community, please feel free, or please do rather consider joining us over on our LinkedIn group. It is a private group that we run, and we sort of like share different things that we're doing and just keeping people in the loop. We try and have engaging conversations there. So if you're interested in that type of community and you'd like to learn more around what we do here, please do consider joining us over on LinkedIn. So jumping right back to what we're doing today, we're talking over UX design. I totally butchered it there. We're not talking over UX design. We're talking about 10 usability heuristics that are used for sort of looking at products. Usually UX designers use this as a method and a way to evaluate products, whether you're looking at apps, and basically be able to evaluate this for your customers using these 10 principles. So you can say, okay, Mr. Customer, your website is broken because it's not telling people that it's loading stuff. The language is weird and sort of like confusing to people. You don't really allow people to get out of your website when they start the checkout page. So that is bad user experience, right? And a lot of people can get frustrated with that, or they cannot exit and continue at a later stage, and you're actually losing people because of that. There isn't sort of like a consistency of standards, so you're calling things profiles here and people are wondering if you're speaking about the same thing. There's just so many buttons on your interface that people are just finding themselves doing things that they're not supposed to be doing, and they think the thing just has got error messages coming up because you are not giving them clear instructions on what they need to do, right? Number 6 talks to always stay in the place. We're telling you that you are here, so this speaks to things like breadcrumbs. So we tell you exactly where you are on the system and how far you are, so you can sort of like go back to your product or your website or your app or whatever it is, and also use this as a checklist, as a tick off list to go through each one of these and see, is my system, is my the user interface that I'm putting out there, and does it do these things? Am I missing out something? This is sort of like just an underlining umbrella set of principles that can help you make your products feel better from the user's point of view. So we're talking about flexibility and ease of use, and we are moving on to the next one, which is aesthetic and minimalistic design. Now this one is debatable, but for the purpose of this design streaming session, and just to keep everything relatable to what we're doing today, we're not going to debate it, and we also don't have the time to be debating this, right? So this speaks to when it talks to minimalistic design, we're talking to let's use the definition that they gave us here. Dialogue not contain information which is irrelevant or rarely needed, right? So don't just fill up your dialogues with stuff that is fluffy. You want to be straight to the point. So instead of saying, oh, may you please document with all the details of your banking, with all your banking details to this email address, you just want to say, send your banking details to X, right? Or whatever it is, send your banking statement to X email address. You want it to be easy for people to read, easy for people to understand, easy for people to find what they need. That is where the whole minimalistic design thing comes from and ends up in. But people think it's about white space and opening up, and having like big images and having an immersive design experience and all of that stuff. But I think some of it speaks to that. Let's continue reading the definition here. Every extra unit of information in a dialogue competes with the relevant units of information and diminishes their relative visibility. So that is very important, right? How much stuff do you have on your screen that is actually relevant to have, around your interface? So if your user is under the About Us section, how much stuff do you have under your About Us section that could drive your user away from executing the thing that you actually want them to do on that About Us section? Maybe there's a call to action to contact you, or to look at something, or some of the work that you've done, or read your vision and manifesto, right? You want to draw the user to that specific part, right? And that's what minimalistic design really speaks to, more than what people have turned it into. We're almost there. We're on the number 9 mark now, getting closer to the finishing of this live streaming session. I'm super excited that I've been just keeping this going, and I'm super excited with some of the conversations and things that are happening in the background. People that are watching this show, and people who would like to contribute, and just setting all of those things up. So there's so much cooking up at the moment, and I'm so much excited, and I just hope that I can have a decent internet connection to be. Oh god. All right, my internet connection is a pain in my head, as you can see, and yeah, it drives me crazy most of the time, to be honest. Only when I'm streaming now, when I'm streaming like serious stuff, educational stuff, information that people actually need out there. Later on, when I'm on Twitch and I'm doing other stuff, and I'm chilling with my Fortnite buddies, everything works. Everything just works. I'm like, what's happening here? Maybe it's just the universe telling me where I need to put my priorities, right? Maybe I should be a gamer. Maybe that's what the universe is trying to tell me. All right, up next, number 9, principle number 9. So we're doing the 10 heuristics, usability, right? Heuristics of user interface design. And we're looking at number 9 here. Help users recognize, diagnose, and recover from errors, right? So this speaks to error messages, not having codes and other things, right? So you don't want to say, oh, code 504-685-7, this is what happened, talk to technical expert. The user will just look at that thing and close it, or like just redo and like, refresh or something, like they'll like keep on trying to do something, right? So you want to tell the person that, okay, sir, stop, our system is broken at the moment, please try again later, right? You want to tell the person, stop, the file that you uploaded is not supported, right? So don't say, error 404 file error, right? What does that mean, right? You want to be clear about what your error is, so whether they need to do a certain action, or maybe they need to refresh, or they need to try again later because your system is broken. Whatever the situation might be, you want to look at the different errors that come through out of your system. I understand, when you're developing these things, a lot of errors you actually sort of like get to discover them, and they usually come with a system code, but you want to be able to massage these errors as they come through. In your iterations, you want to be looking at these errors and changing the wording, massaging them, and making sure that you're using relatable language that is used in the real world situation. That way people are able to go in here and be able to actually recover from those errors, and don't feel like the system is just broken or something like that, but they actually are helped to get out of the situation that they are in. Oh, my voice is going today. My voice is so gone today. Drink some citrus beer. That helps. Good stuff, this. Good stuff. It's alcohol free, by the way. Alcohol free. Just been enjoying alcohol free beer over the past couple of months of lockdown. I think I'm gonna keep on that alcohol free route. But anyway, moving on to number 10, which is the last one on our list of principles that you can use to guide you as a set of rules to making your user experience better on whatever interfaces that you're building out there. Get help and actual documentation. So I'm going to read the description that they have here, and I'm going to try and give you my own definition as well. So even though it is better if the system can be used without documentation, always number one. So you don't want to have a lot of rules. I always say, if you need a thick user manual for people to use your app or your software or whatever you're building, then the user experience designers have not done a good job. They've not done a proper job, right? You want your system to be usable, intuitive enough to be usable with less documentation as possible, right? Like look at some of the best hardware or software that you get or in the world doesn't have thick documentation. So we want to try and get to that point, just as much as you want to try and minimize an environment where a person can have different errors and things like that. You also want to minimize the amount of help that you're actually giving them. Of course, it should be there, it should always be there, and it should be like well written out in natural human tone so that people understand it, right? But having said that, let me continue reading what's here. It may be necessary to provide help and documentation. Any such information should be easy to search, focused on the user's task, list concrete steps to be carried out, and not be too large. So this speaks to having simple clear written out steps for your users. So don't try and like give them documentation of thick information, technical information. You want your users to be able to refer to this documentation, be able to search through it quickly, based on the specific task that they're trying to do. So your user is trying to send an email, so send email in Gmail, and they should be able to get that specific instruction. Let's see if we can actually get an example. I mean, I don't know if anyone will be looking for instructions of sending an email in Gmail, but here's Google support here, right? Let's see what they say. So this is actually a very long list of sending an email, right? I would have given you a shorter: send messages with confidential mode. All right, so they give you a little bit of extra stuff as well, right? But if you want the basics of just writing an email, is basically these 6 steps here that they have there. So it's easy to search for. It's based on the specific task that I'm trying to do, and it's helpful with links and other things as well. So this is a quick example of how that might look like, for you to be able to help your users if they do get lost trying to send emails in Gmail, or in your case, do whatever it is that your system does and they get lost, and you want to give them a quick set of documentation and information, so that they can whether solve an error state, solve them just being stuck in the software, or just being able to move forward and understand your system better. So those are the 10 usability heuristics, from the Nielsen Norman Group. Those are the Jacob Nielsen 10 general principles of interaction design. They say here they're called heuristics because they are broad rules of thumb and not specific usability guidelines. So as I've been saying throughout this stream, you can use these 10 usability heuristics as a method of checking out your own products, if they are generally in the right realm of things, and as a general tick through list which you can follow to make sure that the interactions that you're building for people are on par with just general heuristics. Again, this was written in 1994 and it still applies today, which really speaks to how people are still designing bad software and still designing, forgetting about sort of like the basic little things that are out there. That was today's live streaming, guys. I really had a good one going through this, sort of like reminding myself what they are as well, and reminding myself of all those other situations that I might have not thought about these in a specific way when I was working on certain products, because you don't like sit with this 10 principles in your head somewhere, and make this this checklist all the time. But I think it's something that you definitely want to carry as a UX designer, whether you're a seasoned UX designer or you are a new UX designer sort of like getting into the field. I think this is a good thing to have as part of your toolkit, whether for reviewing websites for clients, identifying general things that are just wrong for them to start having a sort of like sense of direction on what is broken and how you can solve them, and you can refer to these as the general rules of thumb of creating great user interfaces. So yeah, having said that, thank you so much for being part of today's show. And if you are new to this live streaming sessions, This is Do Better UX. I'm your host, Farma Henry, and we do different things over the internet. We are still in the process of launching our website. It should be like this close to getting it out there. I was talking about it the whole of last week, saying, oh, it'll be out this week, but it's not. We're almost there. Hopefully it will be out this week, but basically we're trying to build a community where we can speak to UX designers and help share different information, thoughts and ideas with people who are getting into UX design and seasoned UX designers as well, looking to spice up their toolkits and the things that they do. So having said that, today was a great one. I'm looking forward to tomorrow's session. We do this every weekday at 7 p.m. Central African time. So if you're interested in joining us or being reminded when we do go live, sometimes we're like 7 minutes late, like today, because of working from home complications and other sort of like just getting prepared and making sure that everything is running smooth before we jump online. It just makes everything much more smoother when we are up online and we are broadcasting, right? So yeah, if you do like the content and you enjoyed this, please do consider subscribing to our YouTube channel, and until tomorrow's session, peace.